Well, hello guys, and welcome to yet another exciting episode in this educational series titled WASSCE Past Question Solutions. I'm glad you're able to join me today, and I am your host, Kojo Japon. Sit down, relax, and let's get to work. Alright, so this is WASSCE 2020 elective EICT Past Question, and this is question number 2. Which is based on HTML, Introduction to Website Designing. And I hope you guys are practicing wherever you are, because that is the only way to get good at this. Alright, so this is for 15 marks, and as usual, we're told to just create a folder to save our work. So we'll quickly start by doing that. So your initials first, Kojo Japon here, and my index number 011000101. So in this folder is where we're going to save our work when we are done. Alright, so that is out of the way. Let's look at what we have. Now a continuous assessment report created by a teacher is shown in the figure below. So we can see this figure, continuous assessment, and then we have table with rows and columns. Now that sends you back to introduction to spreadsheets, where we have the interplay between rows and columns. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and then we have 4 columns as well. Now we can see that some of the rows have been merged together, and then some of the columns too have been merged together at some point. Interesting. Alright, so using an appropriate text editor, write HTML code to produce the document that we see above, what we see above here. Then B, we use level 1 heading for the title, what you see up here, continuous assessment. When you get to C, the title of the document should be class 1 assessment. That is how we should title our page. And when you get to D, it says add a third entry to the table with your index number and full name. Now for the index number and then candidates columns respectively. So we are supposed to add our own entry here and assign marks to ourselves. And lastly, we save the document as assessment.html in the folder that we've created. Alright guys, that is everything. Do everything right here, and then we get awarded with 15 marks. Good luck to us. Alright, so let me spin up VS Code, because that is what you've been going to use so far in this series, and I hope you guys at home are practicing with it and getting comfortable. Alright, so we split our screen so we get side-by-side view, and then we can look at our question and then work at the same time. Alright, so time to create our file. We are told to save our work as assessment.html. So that is assessment.html. Alright, so we begin putting down the basic structure of HTML. We're going to do that manually, and doc type HTML to tell our browser this version of HTML is HTML5. Now this tag HTML signifies the beginning, and then that is the closing tag. Now we jump to the head. Proper indentation, awards marks. So inside the head, we are told to display our title. The title of this page should be class 1 assessment. So that will be our title, class 1 assessment. Alright, neat. We are good with the head. Now we go to the main body of our page. Now in the body, we are supposed to use heading level 1 for the heading that we see up here, continuous assessment. So we begin with that, H1, that is header 1, and then we have continuous assessment. That is neatly done. Now we come to the main part. Now inside here we see that we have a table. So quickly we call upon the table element. Now inside here we should set an attribute for our table element. So we create a border. Now this border element, let's set it to 1, so that we will have a well-established margins across our table. Alright, so when that is done, now we have to create the content of our table. So we do that by creating rows. So we create 1, 2, 3, 4 rows here. So let's begin with the first one. Now the first row is going to take care of our headings, our labels here. So index number, candidate, and then subject. Now it is interesting to note that we can see that apparently here that there are 2 rows here, but looking at our label, candidate, and index number, they have merged that into 1. So we have to invoke that property or element or attribute that will help us merge these 2 rows into 1 for both column 1 and then column 2. So let's do that. So our first table data, that is this part, for index number, we're going to add that attribute called row span. Now row span will help us span or merge 2 rows together so that index number will assume both rows. So that is row span, and then it's just spanning across 2 rows. So we just assign 2 as the value for our TD. Now we see that this index number is also centered, same as for candidates and then same as for subjects. So we do that also. Now the rest of all the elements have been left aligned. So by default, table row has the default attribute of alignment set to the left. So we only have to center this guy. Let me just span it. Yeah, this is way better. And then we have index number. Awesome. We can just go ahead and do the same thing for candidate. Row span of 2. That means we're collapsing 2 rows for that. Then we center align it, and then we can call it candidate. All right, that looks good. Now for the last part of our first row, we have subject. Now subject hasn't exactly been the same as the first 2 columns. Subject is merging 2 columns together to assume as 1. So we have to merge the column, and that attribute is referred to as column span. So call span, then it is spanning across 2 columns, so it assumes the value of 2. Great. Now that is also center aligned, so we just center align that bit. All right, so this looks kind of neat. So we can go ahead. Let me just span a live server so we can see what we've done so far. So basically, this is what we've done. This is all that you've done so far. All right, now let's go on and then continue with the rest of the question. Now, in the next row, that is, this will be row 3. If you remember, we have to merge row 1, 2, so that is 3. Now row 3 has table data. The first part seems like the index number, so that is a 10,000. Yeah, that is 10,000. Now the candidate name comes, so we create another, go to the next column. That will be Dennis Brown. Dennis Brown. Now the next part will be the marks for Dennis Brown, and then looking at this, you see that because of the merging the column span up here, we forgot that this is also another row to take the subject names, English and mathematics. So all is not lost yet. All we have to do is to just fix that under the first row. So quickly, let's go do fix that. Now in here we have the first table data, which is English. So we have English here. And then we have mathematics there. All right, so we can go ahead and see what we have so far. English, mathematics, it's coming up. All right, so whenever we have issues here, we don't have to panic. You just have to stay calm, look at what you are doing, and then find out what is going wrong. And then under that calm and then focused mind, you will know what exactly to fix. So we are back on track, and then we have to assign marks for English and mathematics for Dennis Brown. So first one under English, we have 56. And then for mathematics, we have 80. All right, nicely done. We can save this and see how we are doing. Now this is kind of neat. This is neat. So we're on track, and then we can go on to do the same thing. Now, because they are basically the same thing but different names and numbers, you can copy the whole block of code here. We just copy and then paste it there, and then change few elements. So our 1000 now becomes 1001. Dennis Brown changes to Robert Asante. Robert Asante. All right, Robert Asante had 85 in English and then 75 in mathematics. So we can go ahead and see our changes that has been effected. So we're on track. That is great. Now the last part, let's see from the question. We've produced this. We are using each one, that is header 1 for continuous assessment. That is done. We set the title of this page to class 1 assessment, and I'm sure we did that. And add a third party table to your index number and full name with my index number and columns. Then we assign ourselves marks for the two subjects. All right, so basically it's still the same thing, but this time it is for us. So our index number is no more 10,001, 10,002 as in serial form, going to be our actual index number. So the index number that we created with our folder, mine was 011000101, and then my name is Kujo Japan here. So when you get to this part, per the instruction, you are supposed to use your actual name and then your index number. Now, which marks am I getting in English? Man, I suck at English, so I'm going to get a 75 in English. And then for mathematics, 95. Yeah, go me. All right, so that is the marks I've assigned to myself. We can see if everything is looking great. And then, yeah, we've assigned ourselves some marks with our index number to our table. And this is great. And we are looking good. We can save this as such. But hold on. How do we have this table in this shape whilst we have ours looking like this? Now this is as a result of the borders around our cell. So we can do something about it so that we have single cell or single margins across the cell. So we have to collapse this borders surrounding our data or our cells here. So we have to collapse that. Now we can use a CSS attribute to do that. So let's invoke CSS here. So we call upon style for CSS. Now what we need to do is to collapse the border as I said. So we call on this attribute. We're going to collapse the border and then please collapse this border for us. Now let's see what happens here. Magic. So we've been able to collapse our borders, and then we are looking great. Now the last part is to just give this data, the cell data in the cell, some breathing space. So all we have to do is to probably include some width to our table. So let's set our width to, let's see, maybe 50%. And yeah, we have some space in between. You can just fiddle with this number until you are feeling okay, this is great for you and you've done enough. And mind you have 3 questions to solve, so we don't need to waste a lot of time on this. Now basically everything is done, it is good to go. And then the last part of this is to save our work as assessment.html. So the end of it all, this is what we've done, and this is really good to get view all the 15 marks here. Every objective here has been accomplished. We've been able to reproduce this table. We've used level 1 for our title. The title has been set to class 1 assessment, as you see there. We have everything, supplied our index name, number, and then our names, and then assign marks to ourselves. We've been able to collapse the borders around our cell, and then it looks very neat. So nicely done. And then what I'm going to do is to just copy this code, and I know most of us are going to use Notepad++. Notepad, the old fashioned and good Notepad. So just copy if you're supposed to do in this. It's just the same thing. Our code has been indented, very nice. And then we can go ahead and save this file in our folder. So basically what we did in that test editor, VS Code, Visual Studio Code, It's still basically the same thing that we would have done in Notepad. Everything looks good. Yeah, we're looking great. Let me just zoom 50. And now we can go ahead and start saving our file. So we hit on file, save as. Now we're on our desktop, and then this is our folder that we created with our initials and then index number. Now you're supposed to save this file as assessment.html. Make sure that we set the type to assume the .html file extension, and your encoding is set to UTF-8, and then we save this file. Okay, so we can collapse this live server from our VS Code. We can close this as well because that is saved. Now when we get back to our desktop, we can open our folder, and this is what we've done. Double click to open, and then very well, we have our work good to go. All right, guys, it's been amazing having you around, and I hope you guys are learning and practicing each and every day. Thank you for being part of this series. I hope if you're new by now, you've subscribed, turn on the notifications so that you don't miss a single episode. Trust me, great things are coming apart from this series, Solving WASSCE. There will be a lot of great stuff waiting you. So hold on, keep practicing, be awesome out there. This is Kojo Japan, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, stay safe and be great. Bye bye.